I got swept away in the rapids from the floods, and then had to spend 20 hours out overnight in the rapids, and then I got rescued the next day by the NSRI. So the cattle egrets that we released today were the babies that we saved from the trees and the floods on the 3rd of Jan, and then also the eggs that we took that were hatched out in the incubators. So these are the ones that are ready to go. So they've fledged at the centre where we tested them. They're now of an age they now need to rejoin with the rest of the flock. Everyone's ready, just kind of nod.
Who's taking this cake? Okay. Oh, you? Sorry, you wanted to take pictures as well now. Okay, so we go. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Can you come here? You all want it out. Come on. Vaughan Veale, South African Wildlife Rehabilitation Centre. Essentially, we rehab animals that have been either kicked out or orphaned or damaged or hurt or something like that, and they go to the rehab centre and they rehab, and then they're re-released back into nature. These were egrets that we released today. There was approximately 50 of them. We rescued them from about the 3rd of January when the Vaal Rivers rose because of the sluices being opened. We took them out of the nests, we took little babies, and we took a lot of eggs. These are the birds now that have hatched out of the eggs, so it's a cycle of bringing them back to where they originally came from.
We're going to swim anyway.
Sure. That's a big bloody hole. Right, so the eggs were taken through to Krugersdorp, to one of our rehabbers in Krugersdorp, Georgina, and she hatched them in the hatcheries in a broeikaster. And then the babies were taken through to Fishkuil, to the rehab centre, to Judy. And basically they've hatched and now become adults or fledglings, fully fledged, and it's time for them to be released back into nature.
Will they be able to sort of fend for themselves now that they've been released?
Yes, they will be able to, because there's a process in terms of the rehabilitation. Obviously they're fed when they're babies and they've hatched out, and then they start becoming more independent. They're getting put into bigger aviaries, then they get put into a flight aviary where they learn to fly and become secure in terms of their flight, and the food is just put down for them, so that they have to scratch around and like that to find their food.
And then just give me a short sort of profile of this specific bird that you rescued. What sort of a bird is it? What do they sort of eat, and where do they live? And
well, basically, as you can see from the little island across there, they perch up there. They eat basically insects, locusts, crickets, that sort of type of thing. They will be able to fend for themselves. They roost in trees like this, have their babies in trees like that, and then obviously the parents feed them whilst they're fledging, and then when they get flight, they're on their own and they start looking for food for themselves. It's normally known as the cattle egret, but that's what they are. They're egrets.
Do you think? Okay, so we basically in end of March now. Do you think the dam is about 105% full? Do you think the water levels might rise again, or do you think this is?
I have no idea. It depends on what the rains do. I think the rain season's probably come to a bit of an end now, so I doubt whether they'll open sluices. But you never know.
Did you ever manage to get the canoe that was sort of stuck on the island?
We did, yeah. So there's a funny story. Somebody actually saw the canoe when the water levels had dropped a bit, and they got close to it, and then they decided they would swap out their canoe. They were on a kayak, and they ended up swapping it out, got onto the one I was on, and then paddled that out, and then asked around whose kayak it was, and then somebody informed them, that once finding out where they roughly found it, then informed them that it was the one I was on the 3rd of Jan.
And how did it feel today, like eventually releasing the birds into the wild?
Well, it's full circle, yeah, and it's the fruit of the work, so it's we working in the industry we're working, none of us get paid, we're all voluntary, so these are the rewards that we get. Obviously this one's a lot sweeter, because at the end of the day I was also surprised how many had survived in the cumulative number that we got together. So we do this for 1 or 2 animals as well, but the fact that we got generally, it's probably the size of an entire generation. As I said to the residents, if we had none of them left and we had brought back the 50 we brought today, it would be a whole new stock of the bird in the area, so we could re-establish the actual species here.